What's up, everybody? Brett here, and I'm happy today to be bringing you some more news on the Battle Brothers DLC, Blazing Deserts. It is going to be devlog 126, Alchemy. So, as predicted, as kind of hinted at in the last episode, Alchemy, guys, it's going to be the new building. They even show it here, which is really awesome. Check it out. It's got the kind of golden dome. Very Agrabah, if you ask me. Super cool. So let's go ahead and start reading. I went ahead and scrolled down. I couldn't help myself. But I have not read it yet, so I'm excited. After last week's introduction of a new opponent to get crushed by, this week is about a new building found only in the southern city-states. Okay, so it's not throughout the lands. That kind of makes sense. It would be cool to see alchemists in the north. So, are we not going to get taxidermists in the south? Good question. New alchemical contraptions coming with the Blazing Deserts DLC, as well as changes to existing potions. There's a lot to cover, so let's start. I had a feeling, guys, didn't I? I think I said it in the last episode, if not one of my my campaign Let's Plays, that I had a feeling potions would move. If Alchemist was going to be a building, then potions would get kind of a revamp. And I'm hoping it's towards reusability and usefulness. That's what I'm really hoping for. So travel south as far as your feet can carry you, and you'll come upon a strange land where the sun reigns eternal. These lands are not ruled by houses of nobility, but dotted with magnificent cities that govern themselves. Interesting, so like city-states. Here, the rulers are patrons of art and of science. And because alchemy is an important science of the medieval ages, it is here and nowhere else that you'll find the new alchemist buildings. Very cool. I like the idea of city-states. That's interesting. I'm curious what kind of political intrigue or what have you they'll make as a result of that. Naturally, the alchemist feels right at home with decoctions, filters, and elixirs. So if you own the Beast and Exploration DLC, you'll have a varying selection of potions to sell you without you having to craft them. Okay, cool. Awesome, so you can just buy potions. That always should have been in the game. I want them to be useful. They were a cool introduction thing that was introduced back in the day, but they're so hard to use. They're so intensive to use. More importantly, however, the Alchemist has several things on offer that are entirely new to the game. One of them will be introduced with its very own devlog in the coming weeks, while the others are what we're taking a closer look at today. They're essentially throwable bombs. Hell to the yeah. The fire pot. So they're not calling it the hand grenade, they're calling it the fire pot. Makes sense. A fire pot is highly combustible liquid inside a ceramic pot intended to be thrown that will shatter on impact and set an area of 7 tiles ablaze with searing flames for several turns. 7 tiles, that's quite a few. It works similarly to I was about to say, that sounds exactly like miasma tile effect of Ancient Priests, and that everyone ending their turn inside the burning area will take damage. So if you can get out, you'll be fine. But man, if you get tied down by one unit and then someone throws one of these fire pots into like your blobbed up guys, you're just gonna get wrecked by it. Unlike miasma, however, the fire doesn't ignore armor, but melts first armor and then flesh, so it goes through armor first. It can also inflict entirely new injuries such as burnt hands or legs. Interesting. So it looks like there's 4 new injuries. Wow. That makes sense. I mean, I love it when they cover their bases like this. It's so cool. I'm waiting to see what the kind of range we're talking about with this. If it's very short range, that totally changes how it's used. I was already kind of in my mind, I was like, man, you could send out a dog, like an unarmored, cheap dog, and I hate to say this, sorry, pup. You send out a dog, the enemy blobs up around him for a turn, then you nail him with one of these fire pots, and, for the cost of a dog, perhaps, you could clear out some incredibly powerful enemies. So wood burns pretty well, so scrats take double damage from fire, makes sense, but ifrits, being living rocks forged by the fire of the eternal sun, are unaffected by it. Not only are fire pots effective against tight formations of opponents, but they can also prove an effective way to deny access to tiles, or funnel opponents towards a particular part of the map. That being said, some select opponents will make use of fire pots themselves. Very interesting. So also a big factor is how long does the flaming effect stay on the ground? That's also pretty important, right? Let's say I'm taking some fire pots into a forest map, and there's 2 choke points, right? One directly in front of me that I want to funnel the enemy through, and then one to my north, right? That, let's say you're fighting 30 undead. Half of them are going to go towards the center, and then the other half are going to try and make their way around the north. But you don't want them to, right? You want to funnel them all into that center spot. Will the AI be smart enough to recognize that you've thrown a fire pot to the north and blocked off that area, and it'll keep them like funneled in front of you? We'll have to do a lot of testing with that to see just how effective the AI is at using it, but also at recognizing when not to walk right into it. And if it lasts 3 turns on the ground, 4 turns, like we'll have to see. I imagine it's something closer to 3 if I had to guess. Okay. And hopefully it's not too annoying when some guy just walks up to you and just nukes your team with a fire pot. The smoke pot. Okay. Smoke pot every day, guys. Is a throwable pottery as well, but instead of fire, it quickly creates a dense cloud of thick smoke on impact. Inside this cloud of 7 tiles, zones of control no longer work. That's cool. And all characters can move freely without incurring attacks of opportunity. Useful for repositioning during battle, but also to cover retreat when you're already engaged. I could definitely see putting this on my back line. Either if they get, especially on your backliners who stand on the flanks, your northern and southernmost flank. People flank you, you drop one of these, you get out of there, right? Or you get a guy in the front lines who is tied down. You don't want to use his turn to pop one of these smoke pots. You want to use someone else. So you throw a smoke pot at him, boom, and now all of a sudden they're safe to move. Very useful. I love the idea of this. We'll see how great it is in practice, but I think for right now, this is great. It's almost as good as having rotation on a brother. It will probably serve that same purpose without the necessity of having a perk. And I will say, every time we add an item, potions, all this type of stuff, bags and belts becomes a much more interesting and viable perk in this game. So additionally, the thick cloud of smoke also protects against range attacks. I had a feeling it would do that. Anyone inside the area covered with smoke is harder to hit, but also has a harder time seeing clear and hitting any targets outside the area themselves with ranged weaponry. Totally makes sense. The smoke pot can thus provide valuable protection against ranged heavy enemy compositions for a limited time, but at the cost of limiting the effectiveness of your own ranged characters as well. I could see like a strategy where you move forward with your front line, keeping your back line back against, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an ideal enemy. Goblins, probably. And you're just trying to get your front line to meet their front line without being fired upon. You could... Probably 2 of these is enough to cover your entire front line. If your guys are already using shields, it's almost like they're probably going to have like double shields. Just be super impossible to hit. Meanwhile, your back line is just hanging back, already far outside the range of something like a goblin archer. Interesting. I'm very curious to see how that ends up playing out. And then flash pots is filled with mysterious powders that react violently on impact to create a bright flash and loud bang. So a flashbang. Dazing anyone not immune within an area of 7 tiles. Because the daze stats effect was already a bit too dominant even before the flash pot, it's going to be slightly weaker with the 1.4 upgrade or update. But applying it to a whole group of opponents at once can still make for a huge swing in how the battle goes. Careful though, as all these alchemical marvels can affect both friend and foe alike. As expected. So that's pretty great. This is going to wreck humans, orcs. I'm excited. Alright, potions. This is what I'm really hoping will impress me. So introduced to the Beast and Exploration DLC, the Taxidermist allows the player to craft various items from Beast trophies. Among them, potions. With the upcoming 1.4 update, many potions are going to work a bit differently. In their current incarnation, many potions tend to be somewhat hard to use, because of their restrictions. They can only be used in combat. They cannot be used while engaged in melee. They cost action points to use, and their effects only last a couple of turns. 100%. I would remove all of that. We're changing them to be strategic tools that are used on the world map and no longer during combat, and their effects to last for the whole next battle. I like it. I would still like to see them usable in combat, but if I had to choose one or the other, I think this is the way to go. Imagine you're about to engage an enemy at night. Part of your preparations for battle could now be to have your archers drink a night vision elixir before battle starts in order for them to be deadly even under the pale light of the moon. If you're about to engage Geists, you might want to have a key character drink a Lionheart potion instead in order to bolster their resolve. Preparation is key, folks. Preparation is key. So, yeah, before second wind potion, you use it, you spend a bunch of gold, a bunch of crafting ingredients, you make one potion, you then go into battle, have to use one of your turns to drink the potion, and then for the next, I forget how many turns, it works. And then it's just, I mean, it's terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And then it can make you sick, whatever. Terrible. Enhanced stamina. I can do this all night thanks to a cocktail of erogenous, erogenetic, alright, my brain, it's too early in the morning for me. My brain doesn't like this word. Substances, euphemistically called a second wind potion. I get the joke. This character's heart is racing, he doesn't tire easily, and his stamina is enhanced. Also, is it getting hot? That's pretty sweet. I could see this going excellently on either characters that you have that have low fatigue, or if you have like a lone wolf that you plan on doing just big swings with, great sword lone wolf, something like that. Turn them into an absolute lawnmower that never gets tired. At the same time, Antidote now not only removes any stacks of poison, but also grants immunity to poison for several turns. That's great. This means that you'll no longer end up in situations where you spend your antidote to cure a character only to end up poisoned again the very next turn. And that was the biggest problem I had with Antidote. It just wasn't, I'd say I could use an antidote to prevent myself from taking a tiny amount of damage, miss my turn, essentially, and then get poisoned again the next turn. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to keep swinging until I swing myself out of this. So you could choose to make preemptive use of it, or you can wait to use it until you've actually been poisoned, just as before. Unlike potions, however, it's still usable in combat because you can neither know beforehand who's going to need it most, nor can you be expected to inoculate every single one of your characters. The full list of changes to potions and other consumables will be part of the channel log posted once the update is released. Guys, amazing changes, great additions. I'm excited to see what new potions are added. Yeah, I think this is great. And it did say there's other new additions coming into the Alchemist that we're not even going to see until we get another blog. So we're going to have to wait till next week. This was a great update. I am super happy with this. Y'all, my name is Brett. My channel is Goodtalk Gaming. If you have opinions on this, on the way potions function, if you have opinions on these fire pots and how they might change the game, I think they're definitely the biggest game changers of the three. Depending. Fire pots might be so prohibitively expensive to make and to use, and their crafting ingredients might be so rare that perhaps they're useless, you know? Whereas flash pots might take one simple ingredient and you can have them on all your brothers and it changes the game entirely. These are things we won't know until we get into it, but I'm excited to see. And there might be one potion that they have that's really easy to make, it's really cheap to get, and maybe you could just, once, especially in the late game when you're balling, you can just have it all the time active, and it's just this huge game changer. We don't know yet, but I am excited to see. All right, guys. I'm Brett. Goodtalk Gaming is my channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to this every week, as I hope they keep putting out quality dev blogs like this to get us hyped for the upcoming Blazing Deserts DLC. And as always, y'all, I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.